Hi, good morning, everyone. Shavua Tov, and thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Sunday morning for a discussion, a conversation with Tamir Jordan, aka Tamir Jordan. Well, he was known as the Jewish Jordan. Tamir Goodman, aka the Jewish Jordan, and we are so happy and thrilled to have him with us today on this Zoom event, and to have you here with us as well. So I'd just like to say a few things before we begin. My name is Kale White. I am a 3G New York board member and the grandchild of Sala and Avrum Kurt Zutzel, two survivors from Radom, Poland. And I'm so proud to be here on behalf of 3G New York, grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. And once again, I'm very thrilled to be presenting Tamir Goodman. 3GNY is an educational nonprofit for grandchildren of survivors and our supporters. As a living link, we preserve the legacies and the lessons of the Holocaust. Our mission is to educate diverse communities about the perils of intolerance and to provide a supportive forum for descendants of survivors. 3GNY is most proud of our flagship educational program, We Do, which is short for We Educate. This initiative empowers grandchildren of survivors to learn and compellingly share their families' Holocaust experiences in school classrooms and with community groups. Since We Do started in 2010, we've trained more than 250 speakers, visited 300 classrooms in 90 different schools, and have reached more than 25,000 students. 3GNY is volunteer run, and we have so much more to do. And we're making it happen however we can. For more information about how to bring 3GNY speakers to your community or to support our critical work, please visit us at 3gny.org. And now to our guest. Tamir Goodman, dubbed by Sports Illustrated magazine as the Jewish Jordan, is a former American-Israeli basketball player. After playing basketball for the Talmudical Academy of Baltimore in 11th grade, he was ranked 25th best high school player in the country, with an average of 35.4 points per game. He accepted a scholarship from Towson University, but Goodman then moved to Israel and signed a 3-year contract with Maccabi Tel Aviv in 2002. He played for Givat Shmuel for the 2002-03 season and Elixir Kiryat Ata in the 2003-2004 season. He returned to Givat Shmuel for the 2005-06 season. In this program, Tamir Goodman will share 3 stories from his personal journey as a Jewish professional basketball player and how he overcame 3 challenges throughout his career in using inspiration from the life of his survivor grandmother who raised him. So Tamar, first of all, Shavua Tov, welcome. You're joining us from Yerushalayim. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the great opportunity, and thank you to everyone who's participating today. Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me.
Thank you. So kind of set the stage for us right now. What's it like where you are?
Yeah, today was our first day back, I'd say, in Jerusalem, where the kids are fully back in school and the shops are opening up again, and there's a good energy in the air. So hopefully things will continue to move forward in the right direction.
Amen. Sounds good. So tell us a little bit about these 3 particular chapters in your life. I know that you were really, your grandmother, who was a survivor originally from Yugoslavia, had an incredible impact on your life. So talk a bit about the first time like you felt her experiences really helped you to overcome an obstacle.
Yeah, well, you know, my grandmother of blessed memory, she passed away 2 years ago. She was everything in the world to me. Her name was Rosa Sheffer, and she would come from Israel and spend, you know, most of the year with us, raising us, and just her energy, her care, her love. There was nothing like it, you know. There was nothing like her, and I always felt so blessed that she was my grandmother, and always wanted to make her proud. And by the time I was 17 years old, I was ranked the 25th best player in America, high school player in America, and I got a scholarship to the University of Maryland. And originally they said they would accommodate me and I wouldn't have to play on Shabbat. And as time came closer, I realized that if I wanted to play there, I'd have to play on Shabbat. And I told the coaching staff that I love Maryland, they're my favorite team, I'm from Maryland, but really for Jewish people, Shabbat's more important than basketball. And they gave them back the scholarship, and they went on to win the national championship. And till today, a lot of people say, you know, Tamir, if you just would have been willing to play on Shabbat, you could have won a national championship at the University of Maryland. And I still respect the program very much, love the program. I'm still in touch with one of the coaches and the players all the time. But I knew that Shabbat was a blessing that has guided the Jewish people for thousands of years, and if it wasn't for Shabbat, the Jewish people might not be around today. So I feel like, there's a new champion every year in basketball. Someone gets a new ring, they're crowned a new champion. But the Shabbat is like a crown. It's like a blessing that lasts forever. It's not something that gets flipped every year. And I'm glad that I made that choice as a teenager. And a lot of that had to do with my grandmother. I wanted to make her proud. I wanted to show her that everything she went through in the Holocaust and tried to keep her Jewish identity strong. I wanted to honor her and all the other survivors and all the people who wanted to do that, but unfortunately weren't able to because they were taken from us. So I would say that was the first time on a mega stage that my grandmother's influence had a really, really, really big impact on me, and something that made noise or news around the world, really.
So I know that something else came of this. So an interesting opportunity developed when you let go of this scholarship from Maryland. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got a phone call from Towson University. It's a Division I school in Baltimore. And the coach said to me, I'm not Jewish. Nobody on the team is Jewish, but the guys on the team asked me to come recruit you. They respect that you could have played at Maryland and you didn't want to play on Shabbat. And he said, can we learn more about your religion? And I said, sure. And they came over the house, Division I coach, head coach and assistant coach. And my father, blessed memory, came out of the kitchen with a Jewish calendar. And we all sat down in the living room and we went over the entire Jewish calendar, Shabbat times, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and basically asked the coach if he would be able to change the entire schedule for me. And he put together a proposal and he managed to. They changed the entire schedule for me so that I would be able to play Division I basketball on a full athletic scholarship without having to play on Shabbat or any Jewish holidays. And that was an unforgettable opportunity for me because up until that point, it was almost seen as impossible. How can you, it's very hard to get a Division I scholarship and then get a Division I scholarship where you can't play on Jewish Shabbat or any holidays. And I wanted to wear my kippah on the court as well. And they managed to change his entire schedule for me and said that I could play with my kippah. That was more than a dream come true for me. And I'm so glad that I got to live out my dream and do that in front of my grandmother.
That's amazing, actually. So were you the only Jewish player on the team?
Yes, I was the only Jewish player on the team, but basketball's a language that brings people together. So even though I'm Jewish and I'm an observant Jew and I grew up in an observant Jewish home, I graduated from a Seventh-day Adventist Christian high school, predominantly African American, because they don't play basketball on Shabbat either. Seventh-day Adventist Christians celebrate Shabbat the same day we do, instead of Sunday. And then when I got to Towson, my roommate was a Muslim basketball player named Muhammad. And not only Muhammad, my entire team went out of their way day and night to help me be a better Jewish athlete. For example, if my kippah got knocked off on the court, they would pick it up and put it back on my head for me. Or before a fast day, a Jewish fast day, they would give me the water left over from the game so that I have extra water to replenish my body to get ready for the fast. And I can remember one time specifically, the biggest game of my life in college came out on a Friday night. It was in a tournament. And basically in a tournament, if you lose, you're out. If you win, you advance. So the situation was like this. I had made arrangements to stay in a hotel right across the street from the arena instead of staying with the team 20 minutes away from the arena. That way, on Friday night, if they won without me, I'd be able to play half the game on Saturday night because we advanced and Shabbat was over at halftime. And Friday night, I heard a knock on the door of my hotel room, and I was completely shocked to see it was my entire team. They said, Tamir, we want to let you know we won the game for you tonight so that you'd have the chance to play on Saturday night. We respect so much that you didn't play on Shabbat. We won this game for you so that you have a chance to play in the tournament tomorrow night. Congratulations, we respect you. And none of them were Jewish, but they would go out of their way to help me be a better Jewish athlete.
It's incredible. And so did you talk to any of them about the fact that your grandmother was a survivor?
Some of them probably knew because they came over we invited them over our real house too. But I would say the one story that really stuck out, where everybody knew how much my grandmother meant to me, was, college basketball is very intense. It's very hard work. Practice is like, it's hard to explain how precise, how every detail, how practice is like run to a T, and it's at the highest level of intensity. And I remember one time that my mother, who didn't really know much about basketball, she still doesn't know much about basketball. She spoke to me after practice one time and she said, Tamir, was your coach nice to you or was he yelling at you? And I said, no, he was yelling at me. He kept on mentioning Savta, my grandmother. She said, I don't believe it. I said, why? She said, because I called him before practice and I told him not to yell at you because I knew Savta was going back to Israel and you were going to be sad. So I want him to be extra sensitive to you. And, I I tried to explain to my mother, that's like not really appropriate. Don't call Division I coach and start talking to him about Safta going back to Israel. But on the other hand, I think my teammates and coach realized like how much she meant to me and how special she was, because she was the greatest grandmother, but also because she was a Holocaust survivor.
That's pretty amazing. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your grandmother, her, where she came from, and did you know anything about her story of what happened to her and her family during the Holocaust?
Yeah, so we know that she came from Holocaust. We know that she came from Yugoslavia. I know that she never wanted to speak about the Holocaust. She never wanted to open up, so we don't know a lot of details. So I'll just share with you what I do know. A little bit sporadic. A couple years ago in Jerusalem, I was coming out of Tfilat Mincha, of prayer service, and I ran into one of the biggest people from the Wiesenthal Center that was in Ukraine, was in Yugoslavia, spent a lot of his time finding Nazis that escaped. And he asked me a specific question about Yugoslavia, about some type of mass murder that happened before the war, and if my grandmother knew anything about it. And we were standing outside on Keren Kayemet here in Jerusalem. And I called my grandmother from there on the cell phone and I put it on speaker. And she said, yes, she remembers it. She remembers that there was over 200 Jewish bodies. She was able to name the creek that it was in and everything, and confirmed everything that he wanted to know about. She said she remembers it. The only other couple things we know is that she told, that her mother told her to try to always remember to light Shabbat candles, that she was Jewish, to always remember that she was Jewish and to light Shabbat candles. And the last thing I know is that on Yom HaShoah, like about 4 or 5 years ago, I asked her to come to school, to my kids' school here in Israel, and to share her story a little bit with the school. And she originally told me that she wanted to tell me the whole story, and I made a mistake. I called Yad Vashem, and I said, "Hey, my grandmother's ready to share her story. Can you come with the cameras?" And then I updated her and I told her what I did, and she said, "No, she didn't want that. She didn't want me to say." Makes me sad that I told her that, but she didn't want to say it in front of Yad Vashem. She only wanted to tell me, and I made a mistake by calling them, and I feel bad. I feel bad about that till today. But she came to the school anyway, to the kids, and she couldn't answer too much because she started crying. She didn't say too much. She said just where she came from and stuff, and then she kind of stopped. So don't know much about her story. I know that her parents were killed. I know that she saved her sister, who's still alive, thank God. And I know that probably the last conversation that I had with her, was she was still strong, was we always viewed her as like Superwoman, like this amazing woman that could help everyone. And she wouldn't take the elevator, and she'd cook and go up flights of stairs and could ride her bike deep into her 80s. But then she said, Tamir, she said, I choose to be happy. I didn't realize that. Like our whole life, we just thought she was like Superwoman. But she said, Tamir, every single day I have a battle. I have a battle inside of me to remember what they did to my family, to remember what I went through. And it doesn't come natural to me. Maybe to a certain extent it did, but she taught me that you have to choose to be happy, even if things aren't exactly how you envision them, or there's a lot of struggles, a lot of challenges internally or externally. She always chose to be happy. She chose to be a winner. And as kids, we just viewed her as an absolute winner. But it was only until right before she passed away that I realized that all those years she was actually battling, and she chose to win, and chose the side of goodness and kindness and greatness and giving and sharing and loving, instead of maybe all the other thoughts that were coming through her mind. And she was an absolute champion.
Yeah, and I think this helped you also to overcome another obstacle that unexpectedly came up in your career. There was an injury that you sustained when you were 27.
Yeah, and I was supposed to be at the prime of my career, and I basically found out that I was never going to be able to play again. And I dedicated my whole life to basketball. And that was the same moment. I took my mother's message, my Sata's message, and I said, do I want to be sad the rest of my life, or do I want to choose to be happy, work with what I have, help other people through the game, come up with new products, and be a beacon of light in the basketball world. And I've been able to do that, and I try to do that every day in an increasing manner. I've worked with over 30,000 kids, from pro players to special needs players. I've developed products that are now being used in the NBA. I hope that I furthered basketball in Israel within the youth here. I hope every day I try to unite cultures through basketball in my camps and clinics. I have after-school programming for asylum seekers in Israel, for kids whose parents are in jail, kids that are in residential homes. Just doing everything I can in the world, both in nonprofit and for-profit sector, to use the game of basketball to make the world a better place.
Amazing. Where do you find the time to do all this? I know you're married. How many kids do you have? Thank God.
Thank God, I'm almost about to celebrate my 18th anniversary with my favorite person in the world, my wife, Judy. And we've been blessed with 5 kids. We adopted a dog, a big dog with a lot of challenges, but she's really sweet now. And I just think we have a great marriage and a great life, and we support each other. And we've been blessed with amazing kids. And I wake up really early, sometimes 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I try to accomplish as much as I can and do it in an organized manner. And I know what my mission is in this world. I know what I need to accomplish. And that helps me make good decisions every day.
Right. So actually, I'm just going to ask Dave, our tech person today, if he can pull up some photos of your grandmother. So what was your grandmother's name?
Rosa, Shoshana, Rosa.
Shoshana. So we're going to pull up some pictures of her. So she was a gorgeous woman, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Very
So
beautiful.
this is her, I think, in Yugoslavia before the war.
Yeah, all those pictures are right before the war. Right before the war.
And you don't have any other background information about like who took this photo or?
No, I don't. I know the picture, the next picture, I know my mom told me that was her friend. I don't know the lady's name. I don't know her name or anything, but I knew that my mom just said that was her friend.
It's quite amazing. Yeah.
You could just see how beautiful and how strong she was.
She was. Totally.
And I know one story about, I don't know if it was this dress or another dress, but I do know that when she came back after the war to go home to see if any of her family was there, her neighbor was wearing one of her mother's dresses. And that really hurt my Savta. That really hurt my grandmother when she came back to see her neighbor wearing her mother's dress, basically.
Right. And so yeah, go ahead. I think we're going to move forward. Sorry, Dave. There's a picture of her with your children. So that's one of your daughters. Yeah.
That's on the Holocaust Memorial Day, the year before she passed away. Here, Yom HaShoah in Israel. She came to the gun. She didn't say much, but she came, and the kids were so happy to meet her. At the time, she was probably one of the oldest Holocaust survivors in Israel. And she came all the way to Jerusalem. And that's my daughter.
Yeah, so that's your daughter. That's in 2017. Here she is with your son.
Yeah. This picture is very special to me because it reminds me of when I was his age, and she bought me a ball once, and the ball got stuck in the tree, and I came home crying, and I was so sad to tell her that. And then the next day I came home and there was a new ball waiting on my pillow. She went out and bought me another one. And whenever I see my son with that ball, it just reminds me of like how sweet she was. And, that was just seeing her hold the ball there like that. Just reminds me of that story so much and how sweet she was. Yeah.
Here she is with one of your daughters.
Yeah, that's our oldest daughter, Oria. And you could see my Safta's eyes a little were crying, and she was like, that she stopped right there and said she couldn't say anymore right at that moment. But Oria just made her so happy. They loved each other and they looked alike,
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. You can see that. Yeah.
and she's getting ready to go to the army soon, so I know that that's going to make my Safta really proud that she's going, her grand going to IDF.
Baruch Hashem. And so, were your children very close to her?
So close, and I'm so thankful to Hashem that they got to be so close to her. Like that's something that like they grew up with her.
Yeah, and do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
That made me really happy that they got to be with her so much. And
so they know a little bit about her story. Yeah, go ahead.
She would have like sleepover parties with them, even though she was like 9 years old, like they would like be in her bed, and she was like a teenager, she had so much life, so much happiness, so much love. Yeah, I'm happy that they got to be with her, and she had such a great impact on them. And like I think like last month, like my son, like the teacher asked, like, what's two things you could wish for in life. And he's a 13-year-old boy, so like on the one hand he says, yeah, I want to make it to the NBA, but like he also said in the same breath, like, I wish Safta will come back. Safta, like, it was just amazing. So
right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think
he had such a big impact on them.
Absolutely, thank God. And do you think that they're ready to take on the carry the torch forward and teach the new generation and tell stories about the Holocaust and your grandmother?
Yeah, because my oldest daughter, Oria, is like an extreme activist for Judaism and fighting anti-Semitism and everything that has to do with the Holocaust. She's actually in a special program here in Israel that she does after school, and she does on her own on Instagram. And my Matanel, his teacher called and said during Yom HaShoah, which we just had about a month ago, she said she couldn't believe how a 13-year-old boy was so involved in everything that was going on educationally at school and for Yom HaShoah. So that made me really happy to get that phone call from the teacher.
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. So we have a question here, actually, from Eva Fogelman. Tamir, you said your grandmother's sister is alive. Have you been able to ask her about the family's experiences during the Holocaust? Like about their life before the Germans invaded and how old she was before their life was completely disrupted?
I can't ask her because she was even younger. I know that Safta saved her. I know that she like laid on her at night to keep her warm and stuff. But she in a sense had it even harder because she feels like she was 12 and 13, and she just had it so hard that I can't bring her to cry. I just can't do it. I'm hoping our other daughter has a bat mitzvah in 3 weeks, and we're just hoping that she could come to that and just try to like give good memories and positive memories. I just don't have it within me. Maybe because I knew my Safta didn't like to talk about it, so maybe I'm scared to ask her about it. So I don't have the courage to do it, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But yeah, we celebrate happy occasions together, though, thank God, and I talk to her all the time. But especially during the Corona, she's been by herself. But hoping that she could come to the bat mitzvah.
It's really nice. So just a question about, so we can understand the timeline. Do you know what happened to your grandmother after the war, and did she end up in Israel first and then went to America, or did you end up where you were?
That type of stuff I know. Okay, so after the war, she met my Saba. His name was Hillel. He was married before the war. He had a wife and a baby, and they were both killed. So he was by himself. And I could even say how my Safta would say it in Hebrew. She said, That's what she told me. He looked like a nice guy, so we got married. It was like that simple. He was like a nice guy, you know. Things were like a lot simpler, you know. It's like he was bachur nechmad. He was a nice guy, so we got married. And they came to Israel, and they moved to Migdal. There was a village up near Tveria that a lot of Yugoslavians, they put them there. So they literally built the country with her bare hands. She literally like built the country with her bare hands. They had two kids. The first name was Reuven, and the second was Chava, my mother. And when he was a teenager, they realized something was wrong with his stomach, and they had to be closer to the hospital. So they moved to Herzliya so that he could be near the hospital, Bet Cholim Meir in Kfar Saba. Unfortunately, at age 16, he died in the middle of a surgery, and the only left was my mother. So my Savta survived the Holocaust. They survived all the tragedies there, and then they lost a son. It's unimaginable, and only my mother was left. And so my mother is in Herzliya till today. But she moved after the army. She moved to America, and she met my father, and she lived there. We lived there for 40 years, but then my father passed away. She moved back to Israel about 8 years ago to take care of Savta, and she took care of her until the day she died, around the clock, for the last 7-8 years.
It's great. It's amazing. And so actually we have a question from someone. Are any of your team members who supported you and respected your commitment to Judaism back when in your college days speaking out today against anti-Semitism?
Not only that, I have gotten more messages from my teammates during this last war, whatever they want to call it, this last 11 days, from my college teammates than anybody else, than anyone else would have reached out to me. They were so touched till today, including Mohammed, my Muslim roommate. I even have it right here. I'll tell you what he wrote to me. He sent me it. Are you okay? Hope all is well. I love you. I love you. And I said, no, thank you so much. We're okay. Lots of blessings. I wrote him in the middle of the war. I'm like, don't worry, lots of blessings are on the way. And I said, I love you, brother. And then Muhammad wrote to me back, and I love you too. You know, till today, we're that close. He was my roommate at Towson. And yeah, no, basketball makes you very close with your teammates forever. And even the coach wrote to me as well. Everyone, all my teammates. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
I want to ask you about your basketball career. So was it different playing ball in the US as opposed to in Israel, or is it pretty much the same dynamic?
I think it was a little, in America, I was the only Jewish athlete. So it's like on the team, I had to teach everybody everything from scratch, you know, Shabbat, Chagim, everything. In Israel, it's like you have Israelis on the team. You have 5 Americans usually and like 6 or 7 Israelis. So there it was like bridging, because the American players are coming from Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas. They're coming to Israel, and I was, you know, Hebrew and English. So I was like the bridging between the Israeli and Americans, whereas in America, I was like the only one. But it was a dream come true to be able to play here professionally for 7 years, able to serve in the IDF as well. And now with my camps and stuff, I always bring over players. So today I bring NBA players, and I bring kids over to Israel, because I believe that through basketball, we could unite the cultures much more. So we do it. They come to my camp every year in July.
It's pretty amazing. So what advice would you give to young basketball players today who are facing adversity, whether they're Jewish or they come from any different background? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think be resilient. I think have a strong identity. And I think that the world is in a lot of ways much more able and receptive nowadays we see it in sport. We see players making a stance on religion and faith more than ever. And it seems to be that, you know, I think the millennials have brought a lot of sensitivity to this world, to respect people. And I think it's very important for athletes to have a strong identity, be resilient, and be proud of who you are, in addition to all the training, kind of unite that with the training.
Right. And how do you feel? I mean, there's been a lot more kind of international exchange. You're seeing a lot more Israeli players, whether they're, you know, playing internationally, whether in basketball or soccer or, you know, in different sports, and they're openly Jewish. Do you feel like anything that you do? I know you're a very modest person, but do you think that anything you do kind of open the door to allow them to live openly as Jews for these Israeli players?
I don't know. It's hard for me to think of myself, but I could say for me, growing up on Friday night, like after Shabbat, after dinner, my father, blessed memory, we almost every Friday night we would read a book about a Jewish athlete like Hank Greenberg or Sandy Koufax or even all the Jewish boxers and stuff like that. And I grew up hearing their stories, and I know that they impacted me a lot. That my father telling me all those stories on Friday nights really helped shape my career. So my father was also very special, and yeah, it's hard for me to say if I inspired other people, but I could definitely say that the previous generation inspired me. That's for sure.
Yeah, and how do you feel now? Like when you see, I think there was an Israeli soccer player who scored a goal in Australia. I'm not sure if you saw that clip. And then he
Yeah,
took
I'm
out his keeper and he started davening on the field. How did that make you feel when you saw that?
very happy to see that, and I was very, very happy. And he said Shema, and you know, unfortunately, sometimes people think of the Shema like during sad times, like think about Shema like that was the last thing people said before they were killed. Shema was the last thing we say sometimes before we pass away. But to see it like in that way, in a positive way, in front of millions of people, I think that was really special. That was an unforgettable moment in Jewish history.
Absolutely. And so talk a little bit about the things that you're involved in now. I know you have a basketball camp, you have one in the US and you have one in Israel. What are the ages of the players that you teach? The different programs and the different initiatives that you're involved in.
Yeah, so during the winter, during the regular season, I do scouting for NBA teams. I do product development. I'm about to release a new product that I think is going to make it to the NBA as well. I work for Hapoel Jerusalem, which is one of the top teams in Israel and in Europe. And I'm very involved in sports startups. And I also run a nonprofit organization called Hoops for Kids, where we have 13 branches throughout Israel that we do after-school programming and mentorship for underprivileged and at-risk kids in Israel, using basketball as a tool to give them life skills and communication, things like that, communication skills. And during the summer, I have my overnight camp here in July. We're going to have it in about 4 or 5 weeks. We usually bring players from around the world and NBA players and coaches to Jerusalem with world-class basketball skills combined with life skills and try to impact the kids' lives as much as possible.
Right. And so what is the youngest age of some of the players that you work with?
Usually 10 and up. I work with a lot of special needs kids, pro players, and now I'm working on a new documentary about my life, as well as a children's book about my life as well. So
Interesting.
it's a lot of fun things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just want to make it clear. So you coach and you work with not only Jewish basketball players, but players from all walks of life and all backgrounds.
Single type. In the morning, I could be training a pro player. 2 hours later, I could be working with a kid that is in a wheelchair. 4 hours later, I'm like all day, every type of player, all different types of backgrounds.
Okay, and so I have another question for you. So in addition to your grandmother, were there other important figures or mentors in your life who helped you to get where you are?
Yeah, I mean, my whole family, all my coaches, I still talk to my coach probably almost every day. I've had a lot of spiritual fathers. Also, as a young child, I used to go to Lubavitcher Rebbe. My father would take me to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe in New York. Those were unforgettable moments that really, I think, shaped my career, shaped my life. And I can't even thank the amount of people who I know and love and who help me and support the things I'm involved in on a daily basis. I've just been blessed to be around the best mentors, the best friends, the best family, and none of this would have been able to get done without them. That's for sure. And my father, he was the best. His Yortzeit coming up next month. It's going to be 10 years. So
Yeah,
maybe
I don't know if it's too difficult, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your father.
Now, my father was a larger than life, kind, caring, and giving man who dedicated his life. He's a lawyer, but he basically just did chesed all day, every day, around the clock, helped people. and he was a proud Jew. He wore his kippah in court as a lawyer back in the 60s and 70s, even when a lot of Jewish lawyers would take off their kippah in court. And my father was proud of who he was, and he always loved me unconditionally and supported my dreams from day one. And I can never thank him enough.
It's amazing. So I know you obviously have this very positive, say yes to everything in life attitude. So how has that helped you to really maximize and take advantage of the opportunities that have been offered to you?
Yeah, I think that's, Hatikva. That's who Jewish people are. We're always hopeful. We're always optimistic. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. And that's the way I was raised. That's what I try to teach my kids. And it's helped me, not only did it help me throughout my career, it helps me every single day. So I'm thankful for that. Thankful for Torah's teachings. It's our blueprint. It's who we are. And we should be very proud of that, because no matter what, it's like we always keep going. We're seeing it right now till today. We're so outnumbered, but we still go. We just move forward and we keep doing good. And that's what makes the Jewish people who we are.
Amen. Amen. So when you're coaching players, do you ever integrate some of that Torah knowledge into what you're doing? I mean, obviously it informs who you are and what you do, but you ever like randomly quote from Gemara or something, and that kind of wakes them up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all one thing. Judaism isn't a religion that like we run away from the physical world. It's involved in every single thing we do throughout the day. And if it didn't, then it would be a shame. It's like I wouldn't want to have a God that I can only connect to at certain times. I want to be involved with a God that is, involved with how I tie my shoes, to how I wash my hands before I eat bread, to all of a sudden on Pesach I will never eat bread, to it seems like all these things are crazy, but it just means that God loves us, is involved with every single aspect of our daily lives.
Amen. Amen. So I have another question. Did the Lubavitcher Rebbe encourage your playing basketball and envision a successful career for you in this field? And did he make any recommendations about making Aliyah to Israel?
Well, the last time I saw him, I was about 9 or 10 years old. I was wearing a jersey. I was wearing like a Michael Jordan jersey or something basketball. And he gave me $1 while I was wearing the jersey. So I don't know. He didn't say anything. He just said what he said to everyone: blessing and success. But I can say that his teachings, though, helped me throughout my career. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I'd just like to encourage anyone who has any questions to ask them here in the chat. Obviously, if anything occurs to you after the meeting, you can always email myself and I can, forward them to Tamir, or you can contact Tamir directly. We just posted his website again, so you can find out more about all of the different things he does. And obviously 3gny.org, if you would like to support our work, we just posted our website. So thank you very much for your generosity. And I guess we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but just like to encourage anybody who has any additional questions. And just Tamir, thank you for being, I know this is embarrassing for you, but thank you for being a trailblazer for athletes in general, and especially for Jewish athletes, and for an ambassador for Israel. And I just like to say you're such an incredible role model. We're so fortunate to have you as the Jewish people, and the world is fortunate to have you. And we're so thrilled to have had you on this Zoom event. And I just want to know if there's anything, what is your takeaway that you want to tell our audience? Like, what is the most important thing about you, or the most important lesson that they should take away?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you and the beautiful organization, and thank you for thinking of me. And I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedules to spend time with me. I'm very humbled and honored. And I think like that's the most important message, because we see, unfortunately, in the world right now what's going on. And this is the most critical thing that we need to do. We need to unite, and we need to spread light and share truth, and never forget what, what these amazing survivors taught us and how they reacted to these type of situations. And I think that's a great way for us to honor them and the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tamir. And thank you everybody who joined us here today. Once again, our information is posted in the chat, but you can always, if you get any information, contact us at 3gny.org or at tamirgoodman.com. And Shavua Tov, have a wonderful and peaceful week, and peace all over the world. And just wishing all of you the best. And thank you. And please join us for our next program. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.